The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Monday here this Thanksgiving week on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show, all 90 minutes today. We are up until 7. Then it's Jazz with George Thomas. We got a lot to get to. We'll talk UVM hoops. Lost yesterday against Liberty. Robert Lee from ESPN is going to join us. He was on the call for 2 of the 3 games for UVM this past weekend in the Myrtle Beach Invitational, and have a lot to get to. We'll talk about the NFL as a whole. I am here. Danny is here. You can be here too. Getting in on the text line at 802-585-3026. Danny, it feels very weird today for me. Does it feel weird today for you?
Not yet.
No Patriots Monday.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels weird today. Like, I'm very happy the Patriots didn't play. Like, being mad at my Seahawks was enough yesterday. I didn't need double duty with the Patriots playing. So I'm relieved they didn't play, but it's very odd to not have a Patriots Monday. I do not like this feeling. I like when we have football games in our area to talk about. I like when we have the Pats to talk about. Even if they break my heart, make me mad, I prefer we have Patriots Mondays. Instead, we have a Patriots-less Monday, and we will make do anyways. We'll recap the NFL as a whole, so we'll unpack the NFL instead of unpacking the Patriots. We'll do that in the 6 o'clock hour. But again, you can get in 802-585-3026. Danny, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. They're also, remember, in Rouse's Point, New York. So the UVM men's basketball team gets to the championship last night of the Myrtle Beach Invitational, loses to Liberty. Final score 71-61. The game was closer than that, Danny. They were up. Cats were up a lot of the first half. They were actually even within 1 with like 4.5 minutes to play, or just under 4 to play. And Liberty ends up closing it out properly, going on a 10-1 run to end the game. But all in all, I thought this was an incredibly impressive weekend for UVM. And I even thought last night in a loss was pretty impressive as well. There are things that I have written down that didn't go great, and there were things that I think they need to improve on. But by and large, I thought this weekend was a great showing for the Catamounts. I thought last night was a great showing for the Catamounts. I don't remember being this okay with a loss in years for UVM, right? Like, and especially in a game they could have won, right? When they get beat by Kansas or by Kentucky or by Purdue or whatever, you just kind of throw your hands up and say, okay, you took a shot at it, and you go on to the next. Like, I'm okay when they lose to that team as well. But for a game they could have won and ultimately lost, I don't remember being this okay with the outcome. I thought UVM played very, very, very well yesterday. It's really that simple. I thought they played really well the entire weekend. And they went 2-1 this weekend. They're 4-1 overall. And for a team that was 1-7 at one point in non-conference last year, I'm incredibly happy and incredibly satisfied with how quickly this team appears to have gelled. They're not perfect. I'll go through later some things that didn't go well, but they appear to have great team chemistry. They play hard. They play hard for each other. They genuinely appear to like each other. And for a team that has a lot of new faces and a lot of guys in new roles in 2023, 2024, they do seem to have come together pretty quickly, right? Shamir Bogues is playing well. He knows what he's doing in in relation to everybody else on the floor. I think TJ Long knows his role very, very well. Sam Alamutu, who didn't play a lot the last 2 years, he has found a role on this team. Brenton Mills, we didn't see as much of yesterday, but we saw him a lot against St. Louis. I just think the pieces are fitting together. And yes, it was a 10-point loss, and yes, it was a disappointing closing to yesterday's game. But all in all, a good game. Liberty is one of the top mid-major teams in the country, right? They're 5-0. They're in Conference USA. They're a bigger conference than UVM by a pretty wide margin. They're ahead of UVM in the mid-major polls. By the way, I saw UVM as high as 7th in one publication's mid-major polls. So if you're looking about kind of nationally where UVM is at, that's where people think they're at. They're in a top 10 mid-major program right now, according to, I think it was midmajormadness.com, one of the more reputable mid-major sites out there. So I think this team is good, and I have immense confidence in this team as we move through the rest of the non-conference and into conference play as well. Now, I'll say this. The America East as a whole looks better than usual. And we've said that before. Hey, it looks deeper, and hey, there's more teams. The top portion of the America East this year looks very strong. Danny, I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but Bryant beat Florida Atlantic on their home floor. Florida Atlantic, a team that got to the Final Four last year, Bryant beat them on their home floor. Florida Atlantic's number 10 in the country coming into this weekend. Bryant beat them. UMass Lowell had a win over a Power 5 team to start their season, and they nearly beat Arizona State the next time out. So this is a top portion of the America East that looks good. I don't think Vermont is birthrighted to go and win the league, but I feel very, very good about them where they're at right now, heading into the rest of their non-conference, and then ultimately heading into league play. A few things continue to stand out to me. Shamir Bogues is still a stud, right? He had 16 points. He had 9 rebounds in that loss yesterday. He does everything this team could want, and he does nearly all of it pretty darn well. He doesn't shoot the 3 great, but he can. But he gets to the basket. He gets there with aggression. He rebounds. He defends. He's an all-league defender last year in the WAC. He's going to be an all-league defender, if not Defensive Player of the Year this year in the America East. And he can score. You know, when a guy is defense first, you don't usually see that they can score as well. Bogues can do both. He's a complete player. 16 points, 9 rebounds, the best defender on the floor. He is a stud. And you will continue to be impressed by him. If he's doing this against St. Louis and against Liberty, as he gets more and more comfortable and as he plays at home, imagine what he's going to do against Dartmouth. Imagine what he's going to do against Binghamton. Imagine what he's going to do against Albany. He is an excellent player, and he very well may contend for Player of the Year in the America East. Right? UVM has won 7 consecutive Player of the Year awards between Trey Bell Haynes and Anthony Lamb and Ryan Davis and Finn Sullivan. They very well may have another one in Shamir Bogues this year. He's that good. He has that much potential. I also they had 4 players in double figures yesterday. If you're UVM and you get 4 players in double figures, I'm confident you're going to win most games you play. Right? 4 players at double figures. I'm confident you're going to win most games you play. They did not win yesterday, but I'll feel good about them most times on the floor with 4 players in double figures. Bogues had 16, 13 from Deloney, 11 from TJ Hurley, 10 from TJ Long. I thought TJ Hurley was great yesterday. Okay. Early on in the season, TJ Hurley's coming off the bench, looked a little passive. Now, he dealt with ankle injuries in the offseason. He had ankle surgery. I don't know how much of it is that. But he looked like a guy who was a spot-up jump shooter who was only going to stand in the corner and shoot threes and wasn't hitting a lot of them. In that St. Louis game, he started to be more aggressive. Yesterday, he was very aggressive. He was 5 of 8 from the floor. He was 4 of 4 from 2. He went to the hoop. He shot 2s, and that alone was a step in the positive direction. He gets to the basket. He finished at the basket. He had 11 points yesterday. I thought he played excellent. Deloney did not shoot well from 3 yesterday, but he shot it well overall for the weekend. Shot it well for the final 2 games of this tournament. He gets 13 points. There's a lot to like in this UVM team. There's a lot to like out of yesterday. Danny, I know you were watching the Celtics, but I know you watched this game also. What did you see yesterday out of the Cats?
Yeah, pretty balanced offense overall. I thought they got a little bit scattered at the end, but I thought they competed really well against a pretty good team that also moves the ball really well.
I mean, that's a Liberty team that we very well might see in March as well, right? And again, they're in a potential 2-bid league in Conference USA. They're not in the America East in a 1-bid league. So they look, UVM beat teams from, the Atlantic Sun, beat teams from the Atlantic 10, and then just about beat yesterday a team from Conference USA. All of those teams, UVM's punching above its weight class. Against none of those teams did they look overmatched. First half of the first game against College of Charleston, they were down 15, came back and won. From that point forward, they looked like they belonged on the floor. And they were better in a lot of spots than their opponent. I was very, very impressed. And again, for a team that was 1-7 last year at one point inside league play, to be 4-1 right now, and I know the Plattsburgh win is a throwaway, but to be 4-1 overall, it's a very good start to this season. It's a very good start for this team. They look connected. They look together. They look like they like each other. I think that's important as well. Again, it wasn't all perfect. We'll go through some of the things that are kind of sticking out negatively or stuck out negatively from yesterday. We'll do that in the 6 o'clock hour. But by and large, I think this is a pretty exciting team to watch. It's the most athletic Catamount team I can remember in the 8 years that I've been doing this now. It has I think, Danny, that's a good word to say to it, right? Is balanced. I haven't seen a team this balanced offensively in a while for UVM, right? I think back to my very first year, like we're going to go into the Wayback Machine here, but my very first year when we talk about, okay, they had Peyton Henson and they had Lamb, who was a freshman. They had Kurt Steidel and they had Trey Bell Haynes and they had Ernie Duncan. That's a pretty balanced team. Then you still have Lamb and you still have Ernie and you still have Trey Bell Haynes, and that's pretty balanced. Then it gets into, okay, we got Ryan Davis and we got Ben Shungu and kind of who else? And then last year it turns out, hey, we got Deloney, we got Penn, we got Sullivan, but we don't quite know who's going to be there on any given night, right? They could all go for 20 and they could all go for 6. This team, it feels like we're going to see 3 guys to 4 guys in double figures pretty regularly. And overall, I'm pretty impressed by it. So 802-585-3026. You can get in on the text line. So, again, 802-585-3026. A little Catamount Hoops talk early. Text said, this is, let's see, Peter in Williston says, crazy loss yesterday. I was convinced they had a great game plan until the floor caved in. Again, the last 4 minutes were rough, right? The last 4 minutes were rough. Beyond that, I thought UVM was excellent. And look, there's no flowers here for close. There's no flowers here for, we looked good, but we lost. I'm not really into the moral victory stuff when it comes to this team. But you punched above your weight class, and for 36 minutes, you were as good or better than your opponent. You just weren't for the last 4. And yeah, you want to learn how to close, and yeah, you want to finish games the right way, and they didn't do it yesterday. But ultimately, I think they will get there, and I feel great about where they are heading into rest of non-conference, heading into league play. Look, it's going to be a challenge. They're going to see Yale. They're going to see Toledo. These are good teams, good, very good mid-major teams. But if they can play like this, I got to feel pretty good about them overall. Mark over in Essex says, agree with you so much about how amazing it is that they've gelled. I wish they had more size inside. Look, that's a bugaboo on this team, right? They're not very big, but they are very athletic. And now that we've seen this team play, I'm a little less concerned about the size. You can't just out-jump everybody, but I do think this team can out-jump some people in their league and can out-physical some people in their league, right? They may not have a bunch of 6'8" guys, but they have guys with size who are long, who can leap, and who can maybe push some guys out of the paint. And remember, to their fairness, Nick Fiorillo is on this team. He is 6'8", 6'9", and he's hurt right now, right? He got hurt right before the season started. So that is a big body they were planning on having that they don't have right now. That's not their fault that Nick got hurt. I hope he's able to come back, and maybe he can add to, being part of the answer to what Mark is concerned about. But between Bogues and Alamutu, who again is small, 6'5" or so, but is very, very strong, I do think they have the ability to kind of out-muscle some people, especially in the America East, or like we saw against Merrimack on night 1. They got out-rebounded by 7 yesterday. The lack of size was a problem yesterday. It will be a problem when they play teams in the NCAA tournament if they get there. But within the framework of the America East, I feel all right about them. I do think it's a great start to the season. Kevin actually got in over the weekend and talked about Friday against St. Louis. He said it was a great start to the season. He was talking about Friday's win, but Friday's win against St. Louis was awesome. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, at WDEVradio.com. Robert Lee called 2 of the 3 Catamount games for ESPN and ESPN2 over the weekend, right? He saw him beat College of Charleston, and he saw him beat St. Louis. What were his takeaways from the Cats' performance down there at Myrtle Beach? We'll talk to Robert Lee at ESPN next on DEV. The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont and upstate New York's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Vermonters know they can depend on WDEV day to day and in times of crisis. Paul Costello expresses his thoughts on the importance of WDEV.
WDEV, you guys stand for something, and you're like the heart and soul of community radio, and I love that. But, you really all have stepped up in such a great way.
WDEV, in service to the community for 92 years. FM 96.1 and AM 550. Streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Dio & Sons Trucking in Berlin are ready for you to join their team. Dio & Sons Trucking is looking for a Class A CDL truck driver to drive flatbed trailers while working locally with shift times generally 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's currently 2 openings for a box trailer operator from 6:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. They offer competitive wages, paid holidays, and paid vacations. To apply, email diosonstrucking@gmail.com or call them at 249-2921. Dio & Sons Trucking is an equal opportunity employer.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
If your winter tires are tired, poor, or otherwise not ready to face this winter, bring your vehicle to us at Waterbury Service Center. We have the right tires for winters, studded, all season. From tiny hybrids to 3/4-ton trucks. We wash, clean, mount, and balance your tires. Stop in today and find the tires you need and the service you deserve. We're Waterbury Service Center, helping you through another long winter. Full service repair right on Main Street in Waterbury. Thank you.
This Small Business Saturday, let's celebrate the heart of Vermont, the charming local businesses that make our state unique. Join the Radio Vermont Group on Saturday, November 25th, in supporting the backbone of our community by shopping small and shopping local. Discover hidden gems, savor local flavors, and find one-of-a-kind gifts that tell a story. Every purchase makes a difference, keeping Vermont's spirit alive. Shop local at Country Home Center, your complete home center for all your indoor and outdoor projects. 85 Center Road in Morrisville, countryhomecenter.net, 802-888-3177. So this Saturday, ditch the big box stores and embrace the warmth of local hospitality. Small Business Saturday, because big things come from small places. See the details of all the participating small businesses at WDEVradio.com.
The afternoon news service is every single weekday at 4 p.m. right here on WDEV. It's news, it's business, it's sports that you care about. We talk to our local experts from all around the state, looking at every sector to keep you informed and up to date on the latest news that you need to be aware of. The afternoon news service every single day at 4 p.m. right here on the Friendly Pioneer, WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and streaming on the WDEV radio app.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
I did not forget the UVM women's basketball team was in action yesterday as well. We will get you a little bit on that in the 6 o'clock hour. Remember, tomorrow we'll speak with UVM women's standout Emma Utterback. But right now we'll continue our conversation on the Catamount men who lost in the Myrtle Beach Invitational over the weekend, late last night, losing to Liberty 71-61. Joining us now is Robert Lee from ESPN and the ESPN family of networks. He was on the call for the first 2 Catamount games of the tournament, both wins, one against College of Charleston and one against St. Louis. Robert Lee is with us on the phone line now. Robert, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yourself, Brady?
I am doing well as well. So Catamounts take a tough one yesterday, losing by 10, but you saw them in those first two games, College of Charleston and St. Louis, two really good mid-major programs. UVM won both of those games. What was your overall impression of Coach Becker's squad?
I think they got a lot of nice parts. We were kind of laughing. Randolph Childress and I did the game, and, after the game, UVM never wins the layup line. When you watch them before the game and they're warming up and, they're not flying above the rim. They're not doing anything like that. But this is just a team that, year after year knows how to play winning basketball. I mean, they don't make mistakes. They do the little things it takes to win. They have different guys step up. And I think they have, obviously a lot of turnover from last year, but they've got a lot of nice pieces this year. I like their team a lot.
One of the many things that has impressed me about this team early on is the apparent team chemistry already with all of those new parts. You've seen a lot of basketball, a lot of transfer portal era basketball. Do you see it come together this quick for teams that basically are redoing an entire roster?
Yeah, it's tough. We saw 8 teams down there. I did 6 of the teams, on a broadcast in Myrtle Beach. And, I would say only 1 out of the 6 teams I did had almost everybody back from last year. That was Furman. So everyone else had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 new players. And, it doesn't come together like that. There were teams that will remain unnamed that didn't look like they had ever played together, and this was their 3rd or 4th game of the season. Vermont, they've kind of got that secret sauce going, and they've got some guys coming back, Deloney and Alamutu and Hurley and Iofalier. So, you're talking about only really bringing in maybe 3 guys who are in their first year, Bogues, Long, Mills, guys like that. When you're bringing back 5 guys and you're adding 3 or, there's a majority coming back and you're just sprinkling in some new. There were teams we did that had 9, 11 new players, and I think that's a much tougher ask.
What'd you think of Bogues? Because I haven't seen him in person yet because they've barely been at home. So what did you see of him? Because he looks like he adds a different element to this team.
Yeah, he's a guy Vermont hasn't had a whole lot of, a super athletic defensive stopper. Coach Becker called him one of the better defenders he've ever coached. He could see why. You could see why. And he's just getting after guys. He's attacking the rim. He can shoot the 3. We were kind of laughing that, Bogues and Veretto might fight for being the player of the year, for the 8th straight year for Vermont. But, you got to add Deloney in there. I think they've got 3 guys who could legitimately contend for player of the year on the same team, assuming Vermont finishes near the top of the league again.
We're talking with Robert Lee, ESPN broadcaster. He was down there in Myrtle Beach, did 2 of the 3 Catamount games in the Myrtle Beach Invitational. TJ Long is a guy who is really interesting as well. They brought him in from Fairfield. He was a 6th man of the year in the MAC conference. You've seen a lot of MAC basketball in your time. What did you think of Long overall? Another guy I have yet to see in person.
Long had a great freshman year at Fairfield. He was a sniper, 40% all rookie team. And last year, he and the entire Fairfield team really struggled shooting the ball. He won 6th man of the year last year, but he did not shoot well at all. He was 32% for the season, still averaged about 10 points a game. But, as you might suspect, that was more on volume shooting than a real high percentage. I think he's about a 40% 3-point shooter, to be honest with you, in a normal situation. Right now, he's well above that, but no one's going to complain about 40%. He's a guy who can really hit the shot. And then he's showed off more of his game in taking the ball to the basket, which honestly, I don't remember him doing as much of at Fairfield, but he was fearless attacking the rim also.
You've covered a lot of mid-major, low-major basketball in your career. Teams that are pretty good out of those levels, what do they have? What's the special thing that makes them special?
I think experience, especially in this day and age with everybody kind of turning over their team every year, it's a year-to-year process. The experience, I've been associated with and broadcast for Siena for a long time. And you look back at, when Siena had their quote-unquote glory years back in 08, 09, and 10. And that, that's the dark ages now. I mean, that might as well be the, Neolithic age at this point. But, they had 3 or 4 guys who were there for like 3 or 4 years. And that's, obviously unrealistic now, but if you can keep guys, let's adjust the timetable. If you can keep guys for maybe 2 years or 3 years, and they happen to be older 22, 23-year-old guys with the COVID year, some of these guys are 24, 25. If you have 3 or 4 guys who have that experience and have maybe played 2 years together. Let's be optimistic. Maybe 3 years together. That's a huge advantage now when everyone's spending half the season getting to know the names of the guys they're on the court with.
It's interesting. You mentioned those Siena teams, and I grew up in Albany, so I have a lot of knowledge about those teams as well, Siena and UAlbany. What's interesting about Vermont, I think, is we see this a lot where there's a group of players in a program that are really good, and then those players all graduate, and then the coach leaves, and everything kind of falls apart. And that happened at Siena, and that happened at UAlbany too. I think John Becker being there for so long, and you guys made references on the broadcast, like the continuity in the program has allowed them to constantly kind of restock the cabinet here rather than ever having to start completely from scratch again.
Yeah, I mean, Vermont's just got the ball rolling downhill now, right? I mean, they've had the incredible amount of success. People know you go there, you're going to contend or probably win the America East Championship. You're going to go to the tournament. You're going to get a good experience. You're going to play with unselfish teammates. And so they can just kind of plug and play now. And I'm not saying these guys aren't all special in their own right, but you bring these guys in and it just keeps, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where you just keep getting the same type of player. You can afford to, be choosy about who you want and find guys that fit your system. And, I think back to the first game when they played Charleston and they were down, big in the first half. And Iliri Ileofalier. I mean, this is not one of the star players, right? Like, this is not one of the top of the scouting report 15-point-a-game guys. He was the biggest reason they won that game. I mean, he's diving on the floor. He's blocking shots. He's making plays at both ends of the court. And that's Vermont basketball. That's what you expect from them. It's not the big star, the huge name guy who's going off for 30 every night. It's everybody's chipping in and doing their role to the very best that they can.
Where are you off to next? We're starting, feast week here at ESPN. Yeah. All these tournaments around the country. Where are you off to next?
Yep. So I still do a little bit of football. So I actually have FCS playoffs coming up on Saturday. I'm going to Delaware. They're playing Lafayette. So that's my next game on the schedule. And don't have a whole lot beyond that. But I suspect that once the new year comes around, I'll probably be doing college basketball. In the years past, I've done both Macs, actually, Mac and Mac. I'm a Mac guy, so we'll see where they have me when the schedule comes out.
I don't know who we have to get for the battle royale between you and Doug Sherman, but who gets to win the battle to call the America East title game? Hopefully, a Patrick Jim. So it's been Doug in the past, so maybe we can get a battle royale between the two of you to fight for them.
Yeah, Doug is good people. I would never want to go up against him. He's fantastic. Actually, I did the America East has one game on ESPN networks before the title game. And I did that game last year. It was actually Bryant at Vermont, and that was the game that Coach Becker set the win record last year. So I was there last year.
By the way, Bryant just beat FAU the other day. And
huge upset.
UMass Lowell's got a win over a Power 5 team. So the America East looks a little deeper maybe than it's been in the last couple of years. Maybe still top heavy, but overall deeper at the top.
I'm not going to say I've done a huge amount of research on the rest of the league. I will say that, and we said this on the air, that not knowing a lot about the UMass Lowells and the other, top contenders in the league, having seen Vermont for 2 days, I find it very hard to believe that someone's going to be able to beat them. They look like the best. They look like, them and Liberty were clearly the two best teams in the tournament. Liberty's fantastic. So, I think Vermont's definitely going to be a strong favorite again in the league this year.
Well, we hope you are right. Robert Lee, ESPN Family of Networks, was there in Myrtle Beach to see the Catamounts play. They did get to the title game, but did lose by 10 yesterday to a very good Liberty team. So, Robert, we appreciate you. Safe travels throughout the rest of your college football season, and just maybe we'll see you up in Burlington again down the road.
Sounds good, Brady. Appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate that as well. That was Robert Lee of ESPN. A couple people saying, Robert Lee, the general. I don't know if he goes by the general anymore. And I didn't want to say it. So Danny, Robert E. Lee, right? The Confederate general of the Civil War, right? It's Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant. Those are like the two big figures. Given where we're at in our country and kind of disassociating ourselves from some Southern Civil War stuff, I don't know if he goes by the general anymore. It was always a very easy nickname for people to give him, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't know. So, but yeah, he has been called the general for his entire career, but I don't know about now. Maybe next time I'll have to find that out too, but I didn't want to ask today. It's the Brady Farkas Show. We do thank Robert Lee for stopping by. More perspective on the Cats. He did say one thing that I kind of disagree with, I want to get to in the 6 o'clock hour. Other than that, I thought it was largely dead on, right? He saw the Cats and their 2 wins, so we had a lot of good perspective there. Brady Farkas Show. We'll step aside, get the CBS News update from CBS. We'll come back. This town in Alaska is about to be dark for 66 days. I need to learn a little more. I'll do that next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks. The White House says it is optimistic about a potential hostage deal with Hamas. White House National Security Council advisor John Kirby says negotiators are close.
We're doing the best we can with the information that we have to keep the families informed, American families informed. There's not that many of them. We know who they are, and we're doing the best we can to keep them informed, including keep them informed on the process of trying to secure release.
The deal could include about 50 civilians in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, a pause in fighting, and Israel allowing more aid into Gaza, including fuel. Meantime, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in Ukraine today, making a high-profile push to keep money and weapons flowing there.
The United States of America will continue to support Ukraine. We talked about the things that we're going to continue to do to make sure that they have what they need to be successful on the battlefield.
The Justice Department's busted at least 23 people linked to a massive fentanyl ring in D.C. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves.
As alleged, these co-conspirators brought large quantities of fentanyl pills into our community, largely from California, smuggling them on planes and shipping them through the mail.
The fake pills looked like oxycodone. Over at the White House, 2 turkeys avoided a foul fate.
Congratulations, birds. Congratulations.
President Biden pardoned Liberty and Bell and saved them from becoming Thanksgiving dinner. Then First Lady Jill Biden helped usher in Christmas by welcoming the official White House tree.
The 18-and-a-half-foot Fraser fir was wheeled to the front of the White House on a horse-drawn trailer.
The tree is magnificent. It's from the Klein Church Nursery.
It came from Fleetwood, North Carolina.
At CBS's Stacey Lynn. Tainted fruit sending people to the hospital. CBS's Alexander Tin.
Peaches, nectarines, and plums from brand HMC Group are being recalled from stores nationwide after FDA investigators say they found the listeria on the fruits, which is now linked to an outbreak that has hospitalized at least 10 different patients across 7 states and is linked to at least 1 death.
The largest U.S. automaker is cutting costs ahead of a big game.
For the first time since 2019, General Motors says it won't run a commercial during the Super Bowl. Last year's featured Will Ferrell.
General Motors is going electric,
using the big game to promote its electric vehicle ambitions. Now, GM says it's slowing the launch of some EV models to cut costs and is also cutting operating costs by about $1 billion through the end of next year.
CBS's Matt Piper reports the average Super Bowl ad costs $7 million. This is CBS News.
You don't need a job platform, you need a hiring partner. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start at Indeed.com/credits.
Give the capital city some love this holiday season when you shop in Montpelier, USA Today's #1 best small town for shopping. Friday, wear your flannel and win. Then join us downtown on Saturday for horse-drawn wagon rides from 11 to 3. Learn more at MontpelierAlive.com/holidays.
Splash Naturals, bubbling over with holiday gift ideas. Dr. Hauschka, Jane Iredale, Bare Mineral, and Pacifica are just some of their all-natural skincare lines. Fair trade winter fashions from around the world. Find them in their new location at 71 Main Street. Open 7 days a week with complimentary gift bagging. Come celebrate the cold weather season with the Capital City Farmers Market at their indoor location, Caledonia Spirits Distillery on Gin Lane in Montpelier. Shop over 40 local vendors on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. starting on December 9th. Enjoy the bounty of Montpelier and Vermont at the Capital City Farmers Market and Caledonia Spirits.
Downtown Montpelier, a cozier way to spend your holiday season.
Westview Meadows is currently seeking a qualified RN for resident care director, a medication tech and resident services associate for evenings, and a cook.
It's a really great environment to work in. And it doesn't matter what position you have here. We're all one big happy family.
I'm really fortunate to work here and have all of these people in my life.
Consider a career at Westview Meadows. Go to westviewmeadows.com to download and complete the application, or resumes can be sent to HR@westviewmeadows.com.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. We will unpack the NFL as a whole with no Patriots game. We'll do that coming up in about, 10 minutes or so. But Danny, do you ever get lost in Wikipedia?
Oh yeah, the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
Right, and I don't know, something will trigger me, and I'll go to Wikipedia, read it up, and then I'll find something else, and I'll just keep going. So I heard, and this is totally my ignorance, right? I live in my little bubble, and I assume that everybody else is living in my little bubble as well, and that's not the case. And I was turned on to something today about a city in Alaska, and I'm going to butcher the name, so I apologize, but it's Utqiagvik. And I kind of wish that Roger Hill was around, but Utqiagvik, that when the sun set last night, Danny, the sun will not come up again for 66 days. And obviously, I know this, that the further you go away from the equator, obviously the daylight is going to change. So in Vermont, we're pretty far north. And so that's why, when the clocks change, it gets dark pretty early, but it doesn't get, it gets dark at 4:30. It doesn't get dark at 2:30. And I just cease to think about other places, right? Places further south have longer daylight. It doesn't get dark as early. My brother went to Iceland, and it was dark at 2:15. And I was trying to process how that's possible. And so now I'm reading about this Utqiagvik in Alaska. 66 days there will not be the sun. The most they will get is something called civil twilight, which just means the most faintest version of twilight that you can get. That will be the lightest that it gets for the entire day. So it will not be pitch black for 24 hours. There will be a little faint hint of light, like you would see for us at what is now 4:30 or so. But that's as light as it gets. And it does this for 66 days. And that amount of daylight goes on every single day until eventually it's pitch black for 21 hours a day and faintly light for 3 hours. And then it goes back up again. And then for 80 days, the sun never sets and it's sun all the time. So we flip between this completely dark and completely light for half the year. And the other half of the year, I guess it's more normal, or more normal to us. But this is absolutely wild to me. And they say when the sun doesn't set, again, it's not completely bright for 24 hours, but it's mostly bright for 24 hours. The sun will go down a little bit, but it will never completely set. This is absolutely wild to me that people live like this. And maybe it's just, it's normal to them and they would think what we have is weird. That's probably true. But I couldn't imagine being in pitch black for, 21 hours a day.
Couldn't live like that.
What would you rather have? Dark 21 hours a day or light 21 hours a day?
Probably light.
Yeah.
Get some good blinds and sleep.
At first, I thought it would be dark. Because, okay, I could sit inside and I'd be watching games and, I'm inside at work most of the day. So, what do I care if it's that nice out? But I think I'm with you. It would be very, very difficult to go to sleep, at 10 o'clock at night, midnight, and have it still be light. That would be very, very weird. When I would work, when my first job in radio and I would work at 6 a.m. or whatever, I would frequently, be home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I would be taking a nap. That's weird to do, right? It's hot. It's coming through the blinds. It's annoying. and you're trying to sleep, and you don't sleep until 4 or 5 o'clock at night. And it's like, ugh, and it's still light out. Doing that at midnight, I would find to be difficult, but I think I'm with you. Get a good pair of blinds, that I would rather rather have more light than more darkness. And then I'm reading the weather at this place, Utqiagvik. The earliest snow, it can snow any month of the year, right? It can snow any month of the year. It's
like Vermont.
I have yet to see snow in Vermont in June, July, or August, but we could get snow here in this Utqiagvik every single day of the year. Every single day of the year it could potentially snow. The biggest snow comes in October, which seems shocking to me. Like, why wouldn't it be? Maybe it's too cold when January comes around. But the temperature in February on average is minus 12. Minus 12.
Yikes.
And by March 1st, the sun is up for 9 hours a day and the temperatures then rise. And then on March 23rd, that's when we decide that we get light more often than that. It's wild to me. So,
anything else on your rabbit hole?
No, today it was mostly Utqiagvik. Texter says I'd freak out with no daylight for 3 days, let alone 60. I'd rather have 80 days of sunlight than 60 days of mostly bleak. Text says Brady and Danny have to get someone from this Alaskan town on the air now. I don't know how to get anybody from Utqiagvik on. Seriously, though, Lisa Scalodi of the Waterbury Roundabout lived in Alaska. Now, she lived in a part further south than this, but, I mean, look, you're still in Alaska. Now, Alaska is very big, so obviously the further south you go, the more towards, just Canada you're going to get more light. So she didn't have this, but she's like, I did live in the 24-hour sun spot. Like, there's a spot in Alaska, with one day a year where it's light for 24 hours a day. They're playing baseball there at 10:30 at night. College league plays what's called the midnight sun game at 10:30 at night. That's when they start. They finish it at like 1:30 in the morning because it's light all the time. Lisa has experienced that. So Lisa is going to be the person, Danny, that we need to get.
Let's get her on.
We just
didn't ask her about that.
We're going to have to ask her about this next time we speak to her. And this is a holiday week. Like, it's kind of the week to do zany things. Maybe we'll call up Lisa again and ask her about Alaska's climate and the darkness and stuff, because this is absolutely wild to me. And I mean, I guess this would have to be the same at the North Pole, right? Like, or is it only Alaska? Or not the North Pole, it's the South Pole. Does this only happen in the North, we think?
Good question. I'm on it.
I don't know. Yep. So we're thinking about this Antarctica trip that we're giving away. I want to know, does Antarctica, is it prone to 24-hour sunlight or 24-hour darkness? For some reason, I feel like I would have heard about it. Alaska is the only place I've ever heard like this, and things on Alaska's plain. So therefore, Greenland, I'm sure, would have this, and parts of Russia and Norway or Canada. Like, there's got to be some other place. Like, there are other places that are on par with Alaska, but I think they say that this place is like almost as far north as you can get. Like, I'm gonna see if I can find that. Utqiagvik, is it the most furthest north? I mean, it's one of the furthest most settlements in the world. Like, not just in the United States. It's one of the furthest most settlements in the world. It is the largest city. It is one of the most northern cities and towns in the state of Alaska. It is the northernmost in the U.S. So the most northernmost settlements, Frigg Ford settlements in Greenland. There's a place, I've never heard of like 3/4 of these things. Nunavut, that's in Canada. Russia. Greenland. Oh, there is one in Norway. Yeah, so we're all in those same spots. Danny, what do you say? A remote for us, live show from Utqiagvik.
How's the Wi-Fi there?
We might have to go with a phone connection. Yeah, Tex says that Tex talking about the midnight baseball game. That is wild. Playing a baseball game at 10:30 at night, being done at 1:30 in the morning. That would be kind of fun. And they do that every year. I wouldn't mind going to see that. But Alaska is very big, so certain parts of Alaska don't experience this, or at least not like Utqiagvik. But I'm all for, We're talking about Roger Hill taking the group to Antarctica. Maybe the next time Roger leads something, we can convince him to do it in Utqiagvik. Now I want to know how to say it because I know I'm butchering it, but Utqiagvik.
I think you're pretty close.
It feels close. If not, I'm doing a hell of a job at faking it. That's for sure. So, all right, let's get back into our regularly scheduled programming. But yeah, Wikipedia will take me down the rabbit hole frequently. I don't know like what you get caught looking at, Danny, on Wikipedia or like what grabs your attention, but seriously, anything can start me on a Wikipedia rabbit hole. I don't go down the YouTube rabbit hole. I know a lot of people that do that. I go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole for sure. All right, with no Patriots game, I'm very, very disappointed, right? I'm happy the Patriots couldn't lose, but with no Patriots game, we don't have a Patriots game to unpack. So let's unpack the NFL as a whole. Danny, can we get the music? All right, I got just a bunch of things that I kind of want to grip and rip here about Week 11 in the NFL. I am so unbelievably furious about the Seahawks. Like, just allow me to vent here. Seahawks lost yesterday to the Rams. Final score was 17-16. It was bad and irritating in every single possible way. One, I hate when the Seahawks play the Rams. Sean McVay has Pete Carroll's number. And it's been that way for years, right? Whether the Rams are good or the Rams are bad, Sean McVay has Pete Carroll's number. He's beaten him with Jared Goff. He's beaten him with Matthew Stafford. He beat him with John Wolford in a playoff game. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is, the Rams find a way. And, oh, by the way, the Rams defense found a way to step up yesterday. The Seahawks were up in this game 13-0. They were up in this game 16-7. They couldn't find enough ways to get touchdowns, right? We talk about average teams, bad teams kick field goals. Great teams score touchdowns. Seahawks are an average team. They had to kick 3 field goals, right? They could have been up in this game 21-7. They could have been up in this game 14-0, like early. But instead, the Rams are allowed to hang around. The Rams score right before the end of the half. They score with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They go and get a turnover. Geno Smith gets hurt. They go down and kick a field goal at 17-16. Geno comes back, leads them down the field. They get a wonky play call. They end up with a 55-yard field goal, and Jason Myers kicks it wide right. And I'm not going to blame Jason Myers for missing a 55-yard field goal. That's a tough kick. I know that. I know it's a kick that he can make. It's a kick that I wanted him to make. And in perfect conditions, it's a kick that I think that he should make, but he didn't. And as a result, the Seahawks are now 6-4 on the season. And while 6-4 is good, and while 6-4 in the NFC is pretty good because the NFC isn't very good overall, look, the Seahawks might make the playoffs still, but that loss is immensely huge to them. The Seahawks have a 3-week stretch now, Danny, where they're going to go 49ers, Eagles, 49ers. They're going 0-3 in that stretch, as far as I'm concerned, right? They're going to come back.
No faith.
They're going to get blown out on Thursday, right? They're at home on Thanksgiving against the Niners, which I like. But Geno's now banged up. Kenneth Walker's probably not going to play. The Seahawks need everything to go right if they're going to beat the 49ers. I do not think everything is going to go right. The 49ers have had their slip up, right? Like they lost their 3 games in a row where they lost against Minnesota and they lost against Cleveland. They're not doing that now. They're on the ascent up there. They smoked Jacksonville out of the building last week. They put the vice grip on Tampa yesterday. The 49ers are back to being good. And, oh, by the way, the 49ers are healthy. And, oh, by the way, the 49ers have added Chase Young. So without Geno being 100%, with Walker being hurt, I think the Seahawks are going to get beat in this game. And the short week, I think, favors the team that's just better, right? The Seahawks have 3 less days here to get healthy. The Seahawks have 3 less days to plan a game plan, to outsmart you, to plan some trickery. The 49ers are just going to go in pound for pound and just play, and they're going to be able to dominate that straight up, right? That pass rush against the Seahawks line, again, playing at home might keep the Seahawks in it, but I think by the end of the game, the 49ers have won that game by 2 touchdowns, right? Like they won by 2 touchdowns yesterday against Tampa. Are they going to beat the Seahawks 40-0? I would say probably not, but I think they can put the vice grip on and go and win 35-16. Right? That would be a 19-point victory. That would be a blowout. It may not look like a blowout in the way you're thinking of one. You might think 44-0 is a blowout. 35-16 on the road is a blowout. I am so frustrated with the Seahawks that they lost this game, that they allowed the Rams won this game again without Cooper Kupp playing. Like Cooper Kupp played, then got hurt, was barely on the field, and Puka Nacua and Foreman, the running back, they just ran all over him in the second half, and they took it to him. And they won the game, and the Rams aren't going to the playoffs, and the Seahawks very well might but they certainly cost themselves a chance to be 7-3. They cost themselves a chance to have Thursday night football be for first place. And it's very, very immensely frustrating. Number 2, when's it going to happen? When are the Chargers going to fire Brandon Staley? I am not Mr. Fire Everybody guy. Like, I respect that these guys have families, right? I respect that these guys, and I don't know Brandon Staley's situation. I respect that these guys have significant others. I respect that they have kids. I respect that they have young kids. I respect that they have young kids who might be in school, and now you're trying to rip them out of this to move across the country and go somewhere else. I don't love when guys lose their job. Brandon Staley's going to get fired. My question is when? The Packers are not a good team. The Chargers have great players, and yet the Chargers find a way to Chargerfy everything they do. It's why you hear the conversation about Bill Belichick maybe ending up with the Chargers, because everybody knows that Brandon Staley is not going to be there. I just want to know when exactly it's going to happen. You talk about they wasted as a franchise prime Phillip Rivers. They're wasting Justin Herbert here. Justin Herbert is a stud. He was 21 of 26 yesterday. They lose, right? Get a drop. They fumble at the 5-yard line with Eckler. They get a drop pass deep late in the game that could have gotten them a chance to go kick a field goal or maybe get a touchdown and win it. You lose against a Packers team that's not very good. Any way you can lose a game late and by 3 points, the Chargers find a way to do. I don't know how this is possible, but it evidently is possible under Brandon Staley. Number 3, good for the Detroit Lions. The Seahawks might get to the playoffs. They're not going to last long there if they do. When they're out, I am adopting the Lions, and I think the Lions should henceforth be known forward as America's team, as far as I'm concerned. We on social media, you see the hashtag Restore the Roar. I'm all for it. Restore the roar. The Lions are 8-2, and yes, they shouldn't have been taken to the last minute yesterday by the woeful Chicago Bears, but they were, and they found a way to gut it out and win. Good for Jared Goff. I always thought Jared Goff was better than he got credit for with the Rams, right? People thought he was only riding McVay's coattails. See, now he proved he's pretty good. I think McVay is good too. He certainly made Goff better, but Ben Johnson's pretty good, and Goff's playing well for him. He had the 3 picks yesterday. That's not great, but he found a way to respond. David Montgomery gets the late touchdown against his old team. The Lions are 8-2. They're going to win the NFC North. The Vikings loss was huge in the quest for that. They're going to get a chance to be a top 2 seed potentially in the NFC, right? They're going to battle it out with the Lions and Eagles with the 49ers and Eagles for a top 2 seed. But if they can go get a top 2 seed, they have a chance if they get the number 1 seed to get the first round bye. They have a chance to get home field advantage. If not, they can't get that, then they're destined at least for at least one home playoff game. The Lions are fun, man. They're a good story. Dan Campbell's fun to root for. Jared Goff is fun to root for. A cast-off who people thought was just a throw-in until you could go get a younger guy there. He might get a brand-new big contract with the Lions. Ben Johnson is fun to watch call plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs is an exciting rookie. Aiden Hutchinson's an elite pass rusher. Do I think the Lions have enough experience to go and win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But do they have enough of a fun factor to be just that, to be fun? Yeah, I think they do. The Lions, from henceforth forward by me, will be known as America's team. Jim Harbaugh keeps saying that Michigan is America's team. Right state, wrong program. It's the Lions. And by the way, I look at this Lions schedule. They're 8-2. There's a lot of other potential wins on that schedule for them. They get the Packers on Thanksgiving. They're better than them. They get the Saints the next week on a long week. They're better than them, too. They get Chicago again, who they're better than. Denver, who knows what to make. They're hot. Play at home, though, for Detroit. You don't have to go to Denver. I think that's a huge advantage. And then the Vikings, Cowboys, and Vikings again. The Lions might win 14 games, right? They might go 14-3. They might go 13-4. But nonetheless, they are headed for the playoffs. They're headed for an NFC North title. Good for Dan Campbell. Good for Jared Goff. I am pumped for both of those guys. And the Lions, again, America's team as far as I'm concerned. Takeaway number 4, unpacking the NFL. Good for Dorian Thompson-Robinson yesterday in the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have been a real tough spot for me over the last 2 years, right? I have always liked the Browns, right? right, liked the Browns for a lot of different reasons, right? My dad grew up in Cleveland. He was a Browns fan. I felt bad for him when the team left. When they came back, I wanted them to be good for him. They were always bad forever, so I never felt like I was being a front runner. I could always okay, hey, I got my team was the Seahawks. Okay, I got the Patriots I work for. And all right, the Browns, are 4-13 or 5-12, whatever. I can root for them to win their games, make my dad happy. They're lovable. They were losers like my Mariners. I just related to the Browns. When they traded for Deshaun Watson, I could not have that soft spot for them anymore, right? I don't roll with domestic violence guys. I don't roll with sexual assault guys. I don't roll with bad character guys. That's just not who I am as a fan, right? I'm not going to sell my soul to go and win a few extra football games. So when they brought in Deshaun Watson, I stopped rooting for them. I stopped liking them. I stopped having a soft spot for them. My dad did as well. They still employed Deshaun Watson. They still did it. I don't respect that. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson has nothing to do with that. So at least for him, I am happy that he was able to go out yesterday and win. He didn't look good in an earlier appearance this year against Baltimore. He gets a full, a calendar week's worth of preparation time. They beat Pittsburgh yesterday, a division rival, a team they never beat, a team that's owned them since they came back into the league in 1999. He leaves them down the field early, gets them out to a 10-0 lead, then can't do anything, and then brings them down the field again to go and kick the game-winning field goal. That's good character right there by a rookie, by a fifth-round pick, right? This isn't a first-round pick. This is a fifth-round pick who found a way to get it done. Good for him. I'm not happy for the ownership group in Cleveland. They still, to me, did a scumbaggy thing in bringing in Deshaun Watson, but good for Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Don't forget the guaranteed money.
Yeah, and all the guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson as well. All right, elsewhere around the NFL, this Kyler Murray story is going to be fascinating to watch, right? I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. The Cardinals are one of the most fascinating teams in the NFL. I got to pull up my NFL draft meter right now. Okay. As of today, the Cardinals have the second pick in the draft. They are 2-9. Second pick in the draft. The Patriots are third at 2-8. If the Cardinals finish in a top 2 spot, they're going to have a chance at one of the top 2 quarterbacks, right? They're going to have a chance at a can't-miss quarterback. They're going to have a chance at Drake May or Caleb Williams. What do they do? Because there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? You could go ahead and say, all right, we're going to keep Kyler Murray. Heck, these guys will be lucky if they get as good as Kyler Murray, so let's keep him. And then they go at 1 or 2, and they draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and all of a sudden they've got Kyler Murray, who's been a Pro Bowl quarterback, a guy who's already been to the playoffs, and they've got one of the best wide receivers already in the NFL on their roster. All of a sudden, we're talking about a Cardinals team next year that has a chance to instantly be really good again. They could easily do that. What if they decide, you know what? We'd rather save the $100+ million, trade Kyler Murray, get a bunch more picks in the draft for the future. We'll go reset our quarterback clock and get a guy who's much, much cheaper, a guy who's much more healthy now, and we will restock the cupboard by trading Kyler Murray. Because the teams that don't get Drake May, the teams that don't get Caleb Williams, they very well might be interested in Kyler Murray, even at his contract. Let's talk about the Patriots. Right? If the Patriots have the number 3 pick in the draft and they can't get May or Williams, do the Cardinals call them and say, hey, we're taking a quarterback. You're not going to get your guy, but we'll trade you Kyler Murray. Would you do? Well, I mean, you have to think about that if you're the Patriots. Hey, you can give them $150 million guarantee with Kyler Murray. And we're going to take, by the way, your next 2 first-round picks, and we're going to take a couple seconds, too. It's a lot to give up. But the Patriots would have their quarterback. It's a lot to risk if you're the Cardinals, but you'd have a quarterback who's cheap, and you'd have a whole bunch more picks in the future. This Kyler Murray and how the Cardinals handle things, it's going to be fascinating. Now, I guess the easiest way out of that whole thing is if the Cardinals just go and win games, right? They lost yesterday to Houston, but Kyler Murray played well in spots, right? He had a rushing touchdown. His leg looked immensely healthy on that play. Had the deep ball down the field where he threw the touchdown that I think it gave them an early 7-0 lead, 90 seconds into the game or whatever. If the Cardinals win 3 more games and finish 5-12 and they end up with the number 8 pick, then yeah, they're probably keeping Kyler Murray. They're just trying to get the best talent. But if they finish 2-15 and they finish with the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick, all sorts of questions are going to come out about what the Cardinals will do. Finally, as of today, the Patriots have that number 3 pick in the draft. The Giants, because they won yesterday, had the number 5 pick in the draft. I'm very, very curious as to what happens on Sunday, right? Tommy DeVito threw 3 touchdowns yesterday. Can they do that against Bill Belichick? I would argue probably not. Are the Giants and Patriots going to play a aesthetic masterpiece on Sunday? I would say probably not. But curious about that game as well. I think both teams want to win, right? Players want to win games. Coaches want to win games. Yes, fans want to lose. Front offices might understand that losing is best. The guys on the field are going to try to win. If the Patriots lose that game, they very well may not have another win on their schedule the rest of the year. They very well might finish 2-15. They very well might finish in a spot for the number 1 pick of the draft. If they win that game and they fall down into the somewhere between 4 and 7 range, well, then maybe their discussion changes as well. So, I mean, this is a fascinating time. Absolutely fascinating time. All right, 802-585-3026. Danny, what'd you do yesterday on a non-Patriots game day?
Watch other horrible games.
I have NFL Sunday tickets, so I didn't have to watch horrible games.
I streamed a couple other games, but yeah, the local games were not great.
Yeah, I was watching
10-10 Commanders Giants in the 4th.
I was watching Chargers and Chargers Packers early. Watched some of Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Watched all of the Seahawks in the 4 o'clock. Got checked in on Buffalo and the Jets. The Seahawks, they make me so mad.
Clearly.
They make me so mad. Danny, serious question. 802-585-3026. When your football team loses, does it ruin your whole day?
Not anymore, because Patriots lose every week. But yes, previously, yeah.
You are a bigger Celtics fan than a Patriots fan. So, basketball is different because you're playing more often. If the Celtics lose, does it ruin your night, or do you just say, okay, on to the next? They're going to lose 30 games this year no matter what?
Regular season games, not as much. Playoff games for sure.
Okay. Seahawks losses eat at me for at least 3 days. My Sunday was completely ruined yesterday, right? Now to their credit, they lost late, right? Like they lost at 7 o'clock at night. So my 7 until midnight was absolutely ruined. Like, don't want to talk to anybody ruined. Today, I have real venom about this. Now I'm going to finally get over it by about Wednesday. And then Thursday's going to come and it's going to be Thanksgiving and I'll enjoy Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving night, I'm going to have to be drunk during it now. Like I'm going to have to be buzzed and to be able to watch the Seahawks. Because if they're going to lose 35-16 or 44-0, I'm going to have a happy, the happy juice going to get through it. I cannot watch that game alcohol free and see my team get their clock cleaned on national television. I just can't do it.
More mad during a close loss or a blowout?
Ooh. I think I'm more mad during a blowout because when you're getting blown out, like no part of the game was enjoyable. When you've lost close or you lose close, there was a part of the game that was enjoyable and the ending was ruined for me. When you're getting pummeled all game long, there's nothing fun about that, right? The Seahawks played Baltimore 3 weeks ago and got beat like 41-3 or something. I don't even remember the final, but they got beat like 41-3. And there was nothing fun about that. Like you're throwing picks, you can't convert first downs, you're 3 and out every possession. Baltimore ran up for more than 300 yards. The announcers are all over Lamar Jackson and how great he is. He's MVP Lamar again. Nothing with that. That was not fun at all.
Just 37-3.
37-3. Okay. Yesterday was fun for the first half. They're up 13-7. They were up 16-7. It was fun. They were up 16-7 at the end of the third quarter. It was fun. They were up 16-7 with 9 minutes left in the game. It was fun. It was the last 9 minutes that ruined it for me. So I had 51 minutes of fun game time yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. And that Baltimore loss, I had 0 minutes of fun game time. So I think blowout losses make me more mad. The only benefit of all this is that when the Seahawks lose on Thanksgiving night, I will get over it again by about the next Sunday. Then I'll have the Patriots to watch, and then the Seahawks won't play for a week. So I'll have some time to get over it before they go get beat by Philly again. Like, they're going to lose the next 3 games. They're going to be 6-7. They're going to have gone from 6-3 to 6-7. And they may make the playoffs, and you don't ever know with injuries and all that. They might be able to finish 10-7. But they're going to be 6-7 by the end of this, and it's going to be infuriating. Text says, my Buffalo Bills friend gets super depressed if and when the Bills get beat. I won't hear from him for 3 or 4 days. That's about how I am. Guy says, it used to ruin my day. I would break stuff, and not just because my Bengals lost every game with Marvin Lewis, every playoff game. I don't break things. I don't break things and throw things. I get quiet and angry, but I don't throw things. Gary says, it depends how my team loses. Well, they lose close. They're losing at the end. That's not very fun. Getting blown out, not so fun either. All right, it's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. That was unpacking the NFL as a whole. Let's get back into UVM basketball. Catamount men lose to Liberty yesterday in the final of the Myrtle Beach Invitational. We'll talk about a couple of things the Cats do need to improve, and I took exception mildly to one thing that Robert Lee, ESPN broadcaster, told us about the Catamounts. I'll tell you what that is next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting strong communities by helping local governments since 1986.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Good signs catch your eye and promote your business. Hi, this is Trish at Always On Time Signs. We design and produce custom signs for businesses big and small. Commercial signs, safety signs, banners, window, wall, and floor graphics, and much more. You'll be impressed by our customized designs and quick service. And you'll love our competitive prices. Come see how our experienced designers can create the sign you're looking for. Always On Time Signs in Berlin. Online at alwaysontimesigns.com.
Hi, folks. Steve Cormier, General Manager of the Radio Vermont Group. I'm sure by now you heard us talk about our exclusive Radio Vermont trip to Antarctica with meteorologist Roger Hill. Well, I got big news for you. We just secured more cabins at a better price. New Radio Vermont pricing starts at under $9,000 per person, double occupancy, and $11,000 per person for a single cabin. That's a nice price drop. And don't worry, if you're already booked, we're passing on the new discounted prices to you. And if you've collected air miles, you can use those to get a better deal.
You fly into and out of Burlington, which is another plus. This fabulous trip starts on January 25th when you fly to Buenos Aires and back to Buenos Aires after a splendid once-in-a-lifetime 9-day cruise through some of the most spectacular scenery on Earth.
Details at WDEVradio.com. We've made our trip to Antarctica more affordable, so now you can go. For more details and information, or to book your space, call Milne Travel at 800-78-MILN.
Did you know the amount of solar energy hitting the Earth in 1 hour is more than enough to power the world for 1 year? Hi, I'm Paul, president of Green Mountain Solar. We take an educational approach to solar, and one reason solar works so well for so many of our customers is that we come on site and quantify your solar access across the year. The online tools just don't offer the same accuracy as an in-person assessment. If you're interested to learn what your solar access looks like, visit greenmtnsolar.com to book a free in-person site visit today.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results.
I've been advertising on WDEV for a number of years now. It's been a really great spot for me to get my name out
They're an excellent partner for our advertising dollars.
We jumped at the opportunity and we're so pleased we did. We have experienced incredible results.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back to the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Danny, I got to tell you, one of the things I hate most about getting older is Thanksgiving week. It is one of the things I hate most about getting older. Thanksgiving week, when you were in college or just out of college, it was the best. And I don't know if you felt this way, but the idea of everybody coming back to your hometown and everybody, like the group being together again, it was the coolest feeling, right? I absolutely loved it. I would be away at school and, you know, I'd have 2 or 3 friends that were from my high school that went to my college also. We'd all carpool back together and we'd get back to town. And then all our other friends would come back from their schools and we'd all be hanging out at the townie bar on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. We'd be playing football on Thursday morning before dinner or whatever. We'd be watching football at night maybe. We'd be hanging out on the weekend and then everybody would go back to school on Sunday. And then even after that, when we were out of college, you know, some guys would still live in the area, but other people would be gone, but they wouldn't have their own families yet. So they would come back and stay with their parents and stuff. So the group would be together. And that kind of went on until I was probably 25 or 26. And then it stopped being the case because now guys have their own families and they don't need to come back with their parents or go, you know, and me included, right? Like I'll still go back and see my parents at Thanksgiving and Jess will too. And we'll go back together. And it's a big deal for us to be there. But the other people have stopped coming home, right? Like we'll still go home. But, you know, my buddy in New York City, he's got 3 kids now. He's got his own family and his family from here, from Albany, goes to see them. And my other buddy lives in Rochester, New York, and he's got a kid now. And it's like, well, now he's got to do things with the in-laws and his family will go out there too. So people have stopped coming. We've all stopped gathering in one spot. And it's one of the things that I hate most about getting older because Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving and the weekend after Thanksgiving was truly special when all these people would get back together and it would be treated like it was the old times again. And I get it. Like, hey, get older, grow up, have your own life, you know, all that stuff. That's all great. And I'm happy for everybody who has their own thing now. But as you get older, that is one of the things that I miss and I will continue to miss is just that it's never as special as it used to be in terms of kind of the crew getting back together. Those chances are fewer and far between. You're probably experiencing some of that now, Danny, where people that you were friends with or still are friends with, you know, they might not live in Vermont anymore or they may not come back to Vermont anymore. And it's harder and harder to keep some of those relationships going because you just have less chances to see people. Thanksgiving used to be like a built-in chance to see everybody. And, you know, it doesn't really exist as you get to the age I am. I still think it's probably there for you to some degree, but not as special as it was when everybody was 21. I can tell you that. Do you feel anything that I'm saying, or it doesn't exist in your life?
I do. Especially in college, you would actually get that whole week, and you wouldn't have a full-time job yet, so you would actually be home for a week with nothing to do, right? But now, yeah, you're probably working part of that week, or there's just less free time in general.
Yeah, less free time in general, and then some people aren't back. I used to come home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I actually didn't get the whole week off, so I would come home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but you'd roll into town Wednesday night, and then it'd just be like, okay, where are we going? Who are we seeing? Okay, this guy's in town. Where are we going? Whose house are we at? Okay, let's get the boys together, and then, you know, the co-ed group. Like, it was the best, and it doesn't exist as you get older. So 802-585-3026. All right, UVM basketball loses to Liberty yesterday. Final score was 71-61. And truthfully, we talked at the beginning of the show about how impressed I was by their performance in this tournament and by their performance in this game as well. I am not mad at UVM for having lost. So what I'm about to say, they are mild criticisms of UVM because I really do think they played well over the weekend and even last night in a 10-point loss. They got out-rebounded by 7. right? If you're going to pull upsets, if you're going to beat bigger conference teams, you got to hold your own on the glass. And getting out-rebounded by 7 is not getting out-rebounded by 25. But you'd like to be able to pull even, right? You'd like to be able to pull even. Another issue for UVM, Matt Veretto only had 3 points. And Matt Veretto is too good to only have 3 points. Now, to UVM's credit, they had 4 players in double figures. Guys did pick up the slack. But Matt Veretto is a candidate for first team all conference. He's a candidate for player of the year in this league. They can't get 3-point efforts from him and 1 for each shooting nights if they're going to win games like this. Right? I'm confident he's going to be able to fill it up against Binghamton. I'm confident he's going to be able to fill it up against NJIT. I'm not really concerned about Matt Veretto overall. But I always say, if you're going to pull upsets, your stars have to play like stars. And Shamir Bogues had 16, and Deloney had 13, and you got 2 other guys in double figures. Veretto wasn't really there yesterday. He was 1 for 8 from the floor. He was 1 for 7 from 3. So not only did he not score, he didn't even make the defense work. Every shot he took but one was a 3. And the one that wasn't a 3, I think, was a difficult fall-away jumper. So we didn't get to the bucket at all, didn't get to the line at all. You're going to need more from your stars if you're going to win games like this. The thing that Robert Lee said, which was interesting, was, Danny, he said Iliri Iofaleye helped them win that College of Charleston game. He goes, he's not one of the stars on the team. I have to admit now, I am having a difficult time figuring out what Iliri Iofaleye is. Because coming into the season, I thought he was an athletic player who was going to rebound and play defense and was not going to score. I was like, okay, if he gets 2 points a game but pulls down 8 boards and has 3 blocks, I'm perfectly fine living with that. But then we heard in the offseason about the hype train, and we saw the clips of the dunks and all that. We talked to John Becker, and we talked to Deloney, and they're like, hey, this is the most improved player that I've ever seen from one year to another in college basketball. I started thinking to myself, okay, maybe Iliri Iofaleye is a star. Maybe he's a guy who gets 10 points a game and 8 rebounds. And now I just don't know, right? He helps them win the College of Charleston game, undoubtedly, unquestionably. But yesterday, he plays only 19 minutes. He played as a starter less minutes than both Alamutu and Hurley off the bench. He scored no points. He only took 2 shots, and he only had 3 rebounds, and he collected 3 fouls. I want to figure out who Iliri Iofaleye is so I know what to expect from him. If I'm expecting 10 and 8, I'm disappointed. If I'm expecting 0 and 8, well, we're closer to that. But only on the floor for 19 minutes, only attempted 2 shots, only had 3 rebounds. They need more from him as well. He's a good player, and he is super athletic, and he can give them a lot. I'm convinced he will give them a lot. He just has been up and down early here, and maybe he's trying to figure out a little bit, too, of who he is this season and kind of where he fits into things. So that's kind of my thoughts there on UVM. On the UVM women's team, I just want to get to this quick. They had a great win against Quinnipiac on Friday, winning that game 58-53. They played Division II St. Rose yesterday by a score of 60-44. UVM won, so they won by 16. Ultimately, they cruise, and that's all well and good. And we're going to talk to Emma Utterback tomorrow, and frankly, I don't think I can say this to her directly, but the thing that I continue to notice about this team is their continued lack of depth. They played a Division II team yesterday, Danny, and they had only 2 players in double figures, Anna Olsen and Bellavito. And the starters on this team, even in a Division II game when you just played on Friday, are all playing 25 minutes or more. Now, I don't expect them to only play 10 minutes and pack it in for the day, but there's not a lot of other stuff happening on that bench. Right, I look at the bench players yesterday. They got, let me see, 14, 17. They got 20 points from the bench. And against a Division II team, they got 20 points from the bench. I don't know if it's fair for me to expect them to win that game 80-40 instead of 60-40. But I would like to see a world where this team can count on other people other than the starters. And my biggest fear is that this team is the starters and a little bit of maybe Paula Gonzalez or Malia Lenz. Like, in that game against Quinnipiac, Emma Utterback played 39 minutes. And for Olsen, Richardson, and Utterback, that's every game is between 37 and 40 minutes. Now, they did it last year, so I can't sit here and say they can't do that again, but it doesn't feel sustainable. It was last year, but it doesn't feel sustainable. I would love to see a bigger contribution from some of the bench players. Again, the starters all played 25 minutes or more yesterday. Richardson played 24. The starters get 2/3 of the scoring in a game in which I would think that some of the bench players could contribute. Some of them did a little bit, but not a ton. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Danny, let's not take a break here. We're supposed to take a break. Let's just bag it here. Let's finish up with the Celtics. Celtics won yesterday, 102-100. They beat the Grizzlies. It was an odd final sequence, right? Celtics are up 102-100. They have the ball with 15 seconds left or whatever, and we're thinking, okay, are the Grizzlies going to foul or the Celtics going to try to score? Well, it ends up getting helter-skelter, and Drew Holiday comes out of the pack and ends up going to the bucket and missing a dunk inexcusably, and then the Grizzlies get a chance to win. Ultimately, they miss a three, so no one's worse for the wear. But that was a tough end of game scenario yesterday for the Celtics, no doubt.
Yeah, not great. Not great at all. It was weird that Holiday attempted the shot when there's a shot blocker there, but if he makes it, nobody talks about it. But yeah, not the greatest way to try to close out a game.
And and he had the look, like he had the dunk. It wasn't like it got blocked. He just ended up missing it, right? Like he just missed the dunk. So
I think Jaren Jackson caught up pretty quick and he made a good hard contest on it. So I don't know if he just didn't expect him to be there, but yeah, not something you should be doing.
So poor decision by Holiday. They end up lucking out. That's why after the game, Joe Mazzulla said that he thought that they got lucky, frankly. So Celtics though are 11-2, and again, that's where you want to be at this point. They're the best record in the Eastern Conference. But Danny, you watch this closer than I do, so I'll ask you this again: 102 points. We've seen the games where they got 150 or whatever against Indiana. So I know it's in there. But I feel like league-wide scoring seems to be down a little bit. Is this better defense, less calls coming from the officials? What are you picking up on things?
I mean, maybe early season struggles. Their shooting hasn't been great yet from three. Some games, they're just not quite there. And then I think some teams just are tougher defensively, so they're just going to have to figure out different ways to score. They didn't take many threes yesterday. They were going to the basket, so I think that was by design.
We talk about bench scoring for UVM, right, men and women. How about Hauser? I'm starting to like him, right? Hauser is becoming what I wanted Pritchard to be. And Pritchard hit a couple shots yesterday as well, so it wasn't like he did nothing. But Hauser is becoming what I wanted Pritchard to be, like a guy I thought could get you like between 10 and 14, maybe. That is Hauser, right?
He might be leading the league in 3-point percentage right now.
He has been very, very good. And the Grizzlies broadcast because I went back and watched the highlights again afterwards, and a lot of the highlights were from the Grizzlies feed. I mean, they were like, this is what Hauser does. Like he had 15 points yesterday in only 22 minutes. And yeah, he can stand in the corner, and he's just a fun player to watch when he gets it going. Again, Pritchard had 7, so it's not like he did nothing, but Hauser has become that guy off the bench who you get excited to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every time he comes in, his shot is very pure, so it feels like it's going in every time. He's about 50% right now too.
Feels a little bit like, and then he plays a bigger role in Miami, but like the shot of Hauser is so pretty, it kind of feels like a little Duncan Robinson-esque to me.
Yeah, totally.
Now Robinson also, as he's gotten older, has filled out a little bit. Like I think he's a little thicker than Hauser, but the shot itself is very, very pretty. Hauser's shot is very, very pretty.
Yeah, and he gets it off pretty quick now. I would like to see him if he could start to take off balance shots too, if he can make those. But for now, the set shots are working.
The thing I love about the Celtics, or the thing I have loved about the Celtics, even though the offense isn't gaudy every single night, is that all of these guys are good enough to hit shots in crunch time. Like, again, I went back, and I did watch some of the game, but I went back and watched the full detailed highlights, and I was really taking note of the highlights in the fourth quarter. And like Derek White only had 10 points yesterday, but there he is with 4 minutes to play in a one-possession game, he's the guy who gets the three. He's not afraid to take the shot. They're not afraid to let him take the shot. He's capable of hitting the shot. And it's Porzingis at times, and it's Jalen at times, and it's Tatum at times, and it's Holiday at times.
Even Al Horford is
even Al Horford.
Big shot.
So it's just a fun group to know that it can be anybody's night at any given time. So, good win for the Celtics. Are you worried at all about Charlotte tonight? Second night of a back-to-back, a Hornets team that's young, that likes to run. They're not very good. Are you looking ahead to the holiday? The Celtics won't play again until Wednesday when they get Milwaukee, and that's a bigger game. Are you worried all about Charlotte tonight on the road?
I mean, if they play the right way, they should take care of business, but Charlotte could definitely put you in a track meet, and it could be close at the end for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get into a track meet, right? And it stinks because track meets are more fun to watch, right? Like, I don't want the Celtics to take the air out of the ball, but that's definitely a better way to beat Charlotte than trying to get up and down with them. Charlotte could play this game at 120 to 118 if they want. If this game is 102 to 100, the Celtics are going to have won it. But so we'll see what happens. Red Sox made a trade over the weekend, by the way. They traded Luis Arias to the Mariners. They got Isaiah Campbell in return. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive on that tomorrow. We won't go crazy with it, but obviously I've seen Isaiah Campbell pitch a lot as a member of the Mariners, so I can tell you a little bit about that. Kind of the whole thing about Arias, getting rid of him, maybe what it means as well. So we'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow, Emma Utterbeck will stop by the show. Also, talk about the UVM women's hoops team. They are taking on North Carolina coming up on Friday. I mean, that's as blue blood as it gets in the women's game. I mean, UConn, Tennessee, previously a long time ago, Louisiana Tech, North Carolina, Duke, NC State, like those are Stanford, like Baylor. I mean, LSU, like there's a list of 10 to 12 in the women's game that have instant name recognition, and North Carolina is one of them. And the women of UVM are playing them on Friday, so right after the holidays. So we'll talk to Emma Utterback about that tomorrow. We'll do that at about 6:30. All right, thanks to everybody on the text line. Texter says, I hope Iofalier turns into a UVM version of Ben Wallace. Okay, doesn't score a lot, gets rebounds and block shots. We'll see. Right now, I just want some consistency.
No malice at the palace.
So none of that. So I can start to figure it out. All right, thanks to Danny. Go download the podcast. Thanks to Robert Lee for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow. Jazz is next on DEV.
Looking for a place to ignite young imaginations? Inklings Children's